Yes, ma'am.
Great. So is the screen visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So last time we had started our discussion on the building blocks of class diagram, and we will be taking forward this discussion. So when it comes to class diagrams, we have to identify classes, their attributes, and the operations that they will be performing. In addition to that, since there are different classes which form a part of the system and they are communicating with each other, it is vital to recognize the kind of relationship and the nature of relationship between multiple classes which are communicating with each other. Now, why that is important is because that will directly help you to implement that in the coding sense. So when you understand what association is, what aggregation is, what composition is, what inheritance is, and you understand the nature of relationship between different classes. So after the software design, when you go on to actually code your solution, then you know that how the different classes and entities are interacting with each other, how they need to be, how that interaction needs to be shown when you actually come to the coding aspect of your software projects. So we had started off with association relationship, which is the most simple kind of relationship between two classes. It is generally shown by a single line. So when there are no arrows, it shows that there is a bidirectional relationship. However, when there is arrow on any of the sides, it can be unidirectional, and we will see these in examples as we go forward. The next relationship that exists between classes after association is the aggregation relationship. It is stronger than association relationship. So association relationship between two classes indicates a relatively loose relationship between the classes. So they are somehow related to each other. That means when there is association, the objects belonging to the associated classes can exist independently of each other. However, what happens is when then two classes are not only associated, but one class contains the other class, then the nature of relationship becomes like an aggregation relationship. So a class is an aggregate of other class. So that is why it is not also, it continues to be associated. However, the nature of association is much more tighter than it was for the association relationship. So aggregation is very much a form of association, but it's a tighter form of association in which one class contains the other class. For example, a hospital can have multiple departments. So in that way, a hospital is an aggregate of multiple departments. So if there is a hospital class and there is departmental class, then if you were to draw two rectangles for these particular classes, and then you would show them relating to each other by the aggregation relationship. There is a tighter form of aggregation also, which is called as composition. Most of the times, people do get confused among aggregation and composition, and a research community in software development is also quite divided on in which scenarios to use aggregation relationship and composition relationship. But hopefully, again, the answers are contextual, and I will give you some examples that will demystify the confusion between these two. But coming back to aggregation, what happens is that there is a whole and then there is a part. So whole is an aggregation of parts. So whole contains the part. However, the lifetimes of both these classes, the life cycles of both these classes is independent of each other. The whole can exist without the part and vice versa. And sometimes the relation can be reciprocal, sometimes it cannot be reciprocal. So that determines the direction of the association, which is aggregation. So couple of examples. So this is how aggregation is depicted in class diagram. Please note that here I have just used college. I have not actually introduced the attributes and functions. But if this were to be a class and student was to be a class, and if college was an aggregate of students, then this is how you would denote the aggregation relationship. If you do not know what the relationship between college and student is, then you can simply show an association line. But if you know a deeper clarity on the nature of the relationship, then you understand that it's an aggregation relationship. So similarly, a college is an aggregate of teachers. And here in this case, student has an address. So when suppose if you make a class of student and you also show an attribute of address, then address is a part of the student class, but address can definitely exist independently of the student class as well. So this is the basic logic behind the aggregation relationship. Similarly, another example could be that a catalog is an aggregate of different products. So, in class diagram, this is how you would denote the relationship between two classes if it's an aggregation. So, the diamond points out to the whole part, and this end to the part of the whole part. So, the senior level class or the upper level class always had a diamond attached to it, which is an open diamond. So that is an aggregation relationship. When we talk about composition relationship, it is a much more restricted form of aggregation in which the level of dependency between the two classes is way higher than aggregation and of course association. So it is not only a relationship which says up, it contains, but it also represents a part of. So uh, part is actually a very strong part of the whole. So whole is not only containing the part, but whole cannot exist without the part. So that is the basic philosophy behind the composition relationship. So normally in composition, if there are two classes, say class A and B, so if we consider class A as the whole and class B as the part, then the destruction of class object will mean that class B object also does not exist. So the nature of relationship is very, very strong. So for example, car and engine. A car cannot exist without engine, and engine is a very, very important part of the car. So that is why the nature of relationship between, let's say, a car object and an engine object or class would be that of a composition. So uh, in class diagrams, the composition relationship is shown exactly like an aggregation relationship, the difference being that the open diamond is now blackened out. So the key difference between composition relationship and aggregation relationship is that while aggregation tells you that one class contains the other, as you can see in the highlighted format, the composition relationship is more about one class is made up of another class or classes. And the life cycles of parent objects and child objects are no longer independent in the composition relationship. They were independent in the aggregation relationship. So let's take this example. So, so note the difference between the aggregation relationship depiction and the composition relationship depiction. In aggregation, this diamond was not actually filled by black color, whereas in composition, this shows that a library will cease to exist if there are no books. So library is a composition of books. Without books, library cannot exist. Similarly, a building is composed of different flats, and similarly, a car is composed of engine. So if any of these items are removed, then these items will cease to exist. So that is the core difference between aggregation and composition relationships. So another example could be the nature of relationship between a person and his or her different body organs. So definitely, brain has to be a part of the person if he or she has to be alive. So just trying to show that composition relationship as compared to aggregation relationship conveys a deeper dependency among the two classes which are linked by the composition relationship. So if the parent class or if the person class which is composing all these classes is destroyed, then the other classes will also get discarded. So this is something to be kept in mind. So another example for all of you is that a company is composed of company location. So if the company is no longer in function, so if the company is no longer in operation, then obviously there is no point of having different company locations. So they will automatically get destroyed. In this particular example, engine is a very intricate part of vehicle, which is shown as the composition relationship. But a vehicle can still exist without a driver. So, but a particular vehicle may be drawn by a particular driver. So it is a sort of aggregation relationship. The the distinctions are not always clear. However, it is always good to debate among the team members also and with your stakeholders and fellow developers, because class diagram is more of closer. It's a kind of software design which is much more closer to implementation than the other kind of software designs. So if we have to understand these three kind of relationship in you know in one view, it is something like this. So association is the outermost layer. Then a part of association is aggregation, and composition is the most intricate part. So as you can see, the level of dependency between the two classes is much more tighter and closer in the composition relationship as compared to aggregation and as compared to association. So normally, it is very easy to get confused between aggregation and composition, but in both the cases, the objects of one class is owned by the object of another class. But in both the cases, so it happens. But the only difference is that in the composition, the child cannot exist independently of its parent. For it to have any sort of identity, it has to be a part of the parent. Whereas in aggregation, the child is can be standalone from the parent also. So that's the main relationship. So aggregation is a special form of association and composition is a special form of aggregation. So is the difference between association, aggregation and composition clear to all of you? Are there any questions? Any confusions?
Later on, we shall need to go through it again after the class.
Okay, don't worry. When we will go in the lab sessions also, when you will be actually making your class diagrams, confusions will arrive and then clarity will also arrive during the process. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So moving forward, so the difference between aggregation and composition, aggregation is a special type of association, whereas composition is a special type of aggregation. In an aggregation relationship, all objects have their own life cycles, whereas in composition, the life cycles of parent and children are quite closely linked to each other. Aggregation relationship, a class contains another class, whereas composition, a class not only contains the other class, but it is actually composed of another class. So composition is the strongest relationship between two classes. Aggregation is a weak association and association is the weakest association. So this is the homework question for all of you. Try to learn the difference between composition and inheritance. So, and normally one of the practices or one of the associations is more favorable over the other or is more favored over the other. So try to understand the core difference between composition and inheritance and try to identify which one of these is more favorable when it comes down to coding and why. Another homework question for you is now that you know at least on theoretical level what is association, aggregation, composition. So try to find out how these kind of relationships are implemented in any object oriented language that you are comfortable in. And when you actually try to define classes and then you are actually introducing another class as an attribute in a given class, then you will understand what aggregation really means and how it has to be done differently for the association to become a composition relationship. So try to spend some time on this homework question. You will understand much better that how ultimately these concepts get mapped to the coding environment. Knowing theoretically about aggregation and composition is one thing, but the beauty of it really lies when you can see it actually you can see it actually clearly the difference between aggregation and composition when you go on to implement it in any coding environment. And there are multiple examples on internet which will show you the examples of aggregation and composition. Then you can understand that uh, not only how to identify the association between classes, but how to transport that association and theoretical term into the coding environment. So spend some time working on these important homework questions. All right. So moving forward, you already have understood that association relationship between two classes. Association generally shows uses or interacts with. So if A is associated with B, then it would mean that A is either using B or is A is interacting with B. Now there are multiple ways to show this kind of diagrammatic representations of class diagram. And there are no fixed protocols, but many examples that you see about class diagrams on the top, they will all look similar. Where when you go into deeper, there will be some minor changes between each of the class diagrams. There's another important concept in class diagram that is of navigability. So when you introduce this kind of arrow, it's a solid arrow that shows that it shows that when you start from A, you can actually reach B. So not only it is showing association, but also a bit of flow in the class diagram. Then moving on to another important concept of multiplicity. So multiplicity actually helps you to understand the number of objects of one class which are related to an object of another class. So, normally when two classes are associated with each other, then they also carry information on the number of objects count at each end of the association. So, a class is associated with how many objects of another class and vice versa. So, this relationship is actually shown by something called as multiplicities. So the multiplicities make sense when two classes are in association or aggregation, and definitely yes, composition. So if you look at this diagram, but before we try to interpret this diagram, there are certain things that I want to tell you before you can understand the diagram. So going back to this slide, so normally if this is a class A and this is class B, and so suppose you put one here and star here. So first of all, there are some naming conventions. So star could mean any number, or one could mean exactly one, n means exactly n. And if you see multiplicity as 0 dot dot 1, then it means 0 or 1. And if at the end there is multiplicity as 1 dot dot star, then it could mean 1 or more. And n dot dot m, then it could mean n through m. So what normally happens is the way you read the multiplicity is, so if you have this sort of diagram, then you would say that each A is associated with any number of B. So the way to say this is the naming convention. So you say each, and then wherever you start from is associated with the multiplicity value at the other end and the name of the end. So the way you would say is that if the instance of class A is created, then it would be associated with any number of B's. And if you have to talk about B, then you would say that if an instance of B is created, then it is associated with exactly one A. So you start off from this class, and if you want to understand the association multiplicity of A with B, then you look at the multiplicity value and then associate it with B. So that is how you say it. So every instance of A is associated with multiple number of B's, and each B is associated with exactly one A. So now if you look at this diagram, how do you interpret the relationship between hospital and department? So what is the kind of relationship between hospital and department when you see in the diagram? What is the nature of relationship? So what does that sign between hospital and uh, department mean?
One to many.
So let us,
One hospital, many departments.
yeah, okay. So one hospital is associated with one or many departments. And what about department and hospital?
Many to
So one department can have association with only one hospital. So, what is the sign between hospital and department? How are they linked together? What is the nature of relationship between the two classes?
Aggregation.
Aggregation, yes. So there's an aggregation relationship between hospital and department, and if you were to read the multiplicity, you would say that each hospital is associated with one or many departments. So in a hospital, there can be many departments, reasonably true, and each department is associated with one hospital. And even though in our interpretation we are using the word association, when it will come down to implementation and when you see at the aggregation relationship, then you will definitely say that in the hospital class, when you declare, there will be a attribute of a department class. So moving forward, how do you interpret the relationship between the operation theater and the surgery? So looking at the nature of association between OT and surgery and their respective multiplicities, uh, what do you think are the relationship between the instances of OT and surgery?
operation we have to have 0 to 1. Yeah.
Tarun,
One
your voice
class.
is not very clear. Anyone else wants to take a try? Okay, and so you must know that surgery, consulting, and dentistry are the, what is their relationship with the department? So department is the parent class, and there are sub departments. So surgery is a department, consulting is a department, and dentistry is a department. So operation theater is associated with one or two surgery departments. This is what it means. And surgery department is associated with zero or one operation theater. So the idea behind multiplicities is to convey a much more deeper information between how the two classes are related to each other. Inheritance has no multiplicities because they are not really different classes, because there is sort of inheritance relationship. So we don't never talk about multiplicities when we show the inheritance between the classes. So this table just shows you the multiplicity value and the meaning of the multiplicities value. So it is fairly understandable, not difficult to even remember. So when you show the multiplicity by 0, so that means there is actually, the collection is really empty. When you talk about 0 to 1 multiplicity, so one class can be associated with 0 or 1 instance of another class, and 1 dot dot 1 would mean exactly one this would be zero or many, one or many. And so these are some of the conventions used in the multiplicities. So a few more examples to help you understand the concept of multiplicity. So suppose this is a company class and this is an employee class, then you would say, first your understanding of the relationship between company and employee has to occur, then only you can add the multiplicity value. It's not that first you add the multiplicity value and then understand the relationship between the two classes. You first you have two classes, then you identify the nature of relationship. After you have identified the nature of relationship, then you go one level down and then try to understand, okay, what is a company and what really is the relationship of an employee with a company. Then you would say that of course a company is associated with one or many employees, but one employee may be only associated with one company, unless of course the employee is indulging in some other uh, unethical business practices, then he or she may have, you know, another company under the covers. But normally a company will have one or many employees, whereas an employee can only belong to one company. Similarly, an aeroplane is associated with zero or many passengers. What do you think would be the relationship between passenger and airplane? So, if I were to ask you to put a multiplicity value for the airplane, so what would be the multiplicity value of airplane be? So, each passenger would be associated with dash airplane. So, what do you think could be the
One
multiplicity?
dot dot one.
One
Zero
dot
or he says 1 to 1.
uh, zero. Sorry,
1 to 1. He said 1 to 1.
1 to 1. One too many. Okay, and why not zero? So a passenger could be so since it's a passenger, it's not really if a passenger is there, then they might be associated with one zero or one aeroplane because you cannot travel in multiple aeroplanes at the same time. Yeah. So zero or more passenger and one airplane. All right. So similarly, a library is composed of one of many books, and the nature of relationship is aggregation. You must note that in all these three examples, normally the association is shown, but when you have a deeper clarity that looking back to the diagram that we had seen of circles, if you see that the relationship is much more than association, then you go on to put the aggregation relationship. The diamond always pointing out to the uh, senior class. Similarly, in a hospital, multiple patients can be admitted. Normally, such word like admitted or the nature of relationship is not really written. So if it's written, then you do not say associated. You just say that a hospital can admit many number of patients. Now, having talked about aggregation, composition, and multiplicity, let us try to understand the directional associations. So, remember, association is the simplest form of relationship between two classes. When there are no arrows shown, then that means that it's a bidirectional relationship. However, when it's a unidirectional relationship, normally an arrow is shown in the class diagram. What bidirectional association generally means is that both classes are aware of each other and their relationship. However, in unidirectional, the two classes are definitely related, but only one class knows that the relationship exists. Okay, so because it is actually using the another class for some functioning, but the other class may not be really knowing the other class. So to understand bidirectional relationship, which is also a standard association between two classes, because by default, when you show this line, that by default it means that there is an arrow here and there is an arrow here. So if you were to read about the multiplicity, then you would say that a flight is, you know, associated with zero or many planes. Now, since this word assigned plane is there, then you would say that a flight is assigned zero or one planes. So the multiplicity value next to plane class means that when an instance of flight exists, it can have either one instance of a plane associated or no plane associated with it. Whereas a plane can have zero or many assigned flights. So in this diagram, if you can notice, not only the multiplicities are given, but the role played is also given. So the flight is adopting the role of assigned flights, and the plane is adopting the role of assigned plane. So this is normally a standard association. And when it's a two-directional association, you will show multiplicities on the ends. When it comes to unidirectional relationship, which is a directional relationship, it normally shows the property. So, for example, when you show this kind of relationship, let's say between a farmer class and dog class, and if it's a one directional relationship, you could say the farm. So this direction could mean that a farmer has a dog. Now, obviously, a counter argument could be that a dog could also belong to a particular farmer, right? So, but for the sake of the discussion, using this example, what we are trying to understand is that when there is unidirectional association, normally there is some function that is being performed using one class to another class, or there is a kind of property association. And when you add a multiplicity to it, then it would be that farmer has one or more dogs. And in this side diagram, you can see that unidirectional association is there, but again, the sheepdog is actually is inheriting the dog class. So as I told you that when you look at multiple class diagrams and you come across multiple class diagrams, it will be very rare that they follow a common convention. Most of the times, people often customize their diagrams as per their own understanding. Conventions sometimes take a backseat, but on the, on the broader level, you would always almost find composition, aggregation, multiplicities, and sometimes directions also. And so when you talk about unidirectional association, you always try to also name the task that is getting performed. So if you see that a spreadsheet is associated with multiple cells, but a spreadsheet contains cells, whereas a cell can be part of only one spreadsheet, but you know um, there is not really a backward relationship between these two. So from this, you can see that when you try to show a unidirectional association, you always add the function that is getting performed between the two cells. And I can understand it may not be very easy to understand in the first go, and especially with an example that you may not be able to relate to. But when you actually do this kind of activity for your class projects, the concept will become much more clear as you proceed. So there is something called as navigability. When we talk about unidirectional association, we cannot forget about navigability. So navigability suggests that given a spreadsheet in this particular example, so if you have a spreadsheet, you can locate all the cells that it contains, you know. But given a cell, it is difficult to determine what spreadsheet it is contained in. So that is why the direction of association is unidirectional. So this is what exactly it means. Similarly, in this particular example, so given a cell, you can obtain the related expression and value, but given a value, you cannot really find the cell of whose it is attribute. So, the relationship from cell to expression, cell to value, and expression to value. So this is again bidirectional. So the idea behind navigability is that you can locate expression from a cell, but you cannot understand the cell from the expression. So that is the basic idea of navigability. Normally navigability you will not find much in the class diagrams, but it is again providing one level deeper detail into the class diagram. But for our lab sake, we may not go to the navigability aspect, uh, just to understand on a broader level of how to create class diagrams in a very basic manner. Now, as I had mentioned that when there are no arrows shown, there are only simply lines, then it defaults to this kind of association. That means it's a bidirectional relationship between the classes. So now we have understood the different examples of associations between the class diagrams. So normally if you have to develop a class diagram, the first thing that you need to identify are your classes. Second is the attributes of those classes, then the methods in those classes. Then you need to understand the association between these classes, their multiplicities and inheritance or other any kind of relationship. When you look, so this is a very simple class diagram for a commercial software application. When you look at this diagram, so anyone who can interpret this diagram for all of us. So what do you actually see when you look at this particular class diagram? So let us take a moment to read this diagram. And anyone in the class who would like to explain what is exactly happening in this particular diagram?
There are two kinds of customers, corporate and personal. Any customer can have two orders, n number of orders. An order can be produced to an order line.
Okay, Tarun, I can hear you slightly. I think your voice is breaking. If you can use your mobile microphone. So I heard
Okay.
you that a customer can have a number of orders. So the first thing that you see here is that the classes obviously. So there is an order class, there is a customer class, the order line is there. Then there are two types of customer that are shown. There's a corporate customer and personal customer. Now, the thing to remember is that how did they really arrive at the identification of these classes for a commercial software application? So, if it's an application that allows people to place orders online, then definitely the first level decision that comes is to identify classes that will form a part of the class diagram and eventually the implementation aspect. So the order class has to be there. So the attributes of the order could be the date on which the order is received, is it prepaid, the number of items and the price. And then there are certain functions associated with the order, which is dispatch and close. Similarly, for the customer, the attributes are name, address, and credit rating. The order line again has certain set of attributes, and then corporate customers and personal customers have specific attributes in addition to the attributes of the parent class. Okay, so that is the first thing all of us should notice when we look at this particular class diagram. Next we see is the association between these multiple class diagram, and note that there is a every class is associated with at least one relationship with the other class. Okay, and in this particular diagram the creator has not shown specific associations like aggregation and composition. uh, Maybe they might have shown it in second version, but it is fairly intuitive that the one order is associated with one customer. However, a customer can have multiple orders. Similarly, an order line belongs to one order, whereas an order can have multiple order lines. I'm not sure what the creators mean by order line. Maybe the naming could have been much more clear and precise to really show what exactly order line is. And a customer is associated, so a customer has two type of customers: corporate customers and personal customers. And obviously, because the customer is associated with orders, so definitely the corporate customers and personal customer is automatically associated with the order class. So this is a very simple way in which a class diagram is used to show the uh, a deeper level, a deeper peek into the system design before it is moved on to the implementation stage. Talking a bit of more complicated diagram, if not much, try to look at this diagram. It's just an extension of the previous diagram that you saw, but it has much more details than the previous one. So here, in addition to the association, you can also see that the order is in has this aggregation sign, and so definitely the order contains order detail. So order class will contain order detail class, and that is why this aggregation relationship is shown. So similarly, if you can say that a customer can have zero or many orders, whereas an order is associated with only one customer. Pay attention again to how the classes have been identified and conceptualized. You see, the first level is to identify the classes. When you so classes are like the building blocks of your solution. Once you have identified the classes, then you try to see the relationship between the classes and their attributes, and the nature of relationship and the multiplicities. So using these two diagrams, I have just shown you a glimpse of. So we read about the different types of associations and multiplicity, and in this diagram you can see actually how everything is coming closer together to provide a meaning to the class diagram. So when you look at this particular diagram, what do you think is the difference that you see uh, in the class diagram? So if you were to make similar diagram, a use case diagram or a process diagram, so what exactly is the new thing that you can see in class diagrams that was not quite visible in the use case diagrams or process diagrams? What do you think is the difference here?
I mean, what the class consists of. We can see it here. It's not visible in the use case diagram.
Okay. So what are the implications of knowing what the class contains? What is it that you gain out of it?
I mean, it says more about it.
Okay. So
Generally,
yes.
I mean,
So
generally more information is clear.
okay. So we are slowly moving from the conceptual design, the high level design, into a detail level design. And the more detailed the design is, the more helpful and assisting it is in the implementation stage. Because once you have your at least your class diagram ready, when you're actually sitting to write the code, at that point of time you will not think, okay, this is the attribute that I need to put in customer, this is the attribute I need to put in order, these are the methods that need to be associated with order class or item class. It's like preparing a blueprint of your system that you are trying to develop, and then keeping that as a base for your implementation, then you go out to implement the solution. The advantage is that you have sufficient amount of detail before you go on to implement the system. If you were to follow a code and fix approach type of approach to develop your softwares, normally what would happen is that every time you are trying to implement, you would definitely get stuck in thinking of how to design a particular class and how to provide it different methods and attributes. So then you will have to always come back to the design part. So in software development, we try to go into a phase wise structure, and design forms a very important part before the implementation aspect. because the time you spend in your development will be heavily influenced by the time you have spent in your design. So if you have spent good amount of time in trying to understand the nitty gritty of your class diagrams, so then it will not be very much painful when you go forward to implement it in the next stages. And do not get too intimidated by these class diagrams. I understand that at first we can question, okay, how will I be able to make such a kind of diagram? But in tomorrow's class, I will explain to you step by step using an example of how we can start from classes, then expand the number of classes, go on to the associations, aggregations and compositions, and add the multiplicity. So everything is a process, and tomorrow, using an example, I will try to show you that how we can create a class diagram, and we will be following the similar approach when it comes to developing the class diagram for a specific project. Are there any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that was for me today. Tomorrow I will discuss more about how to create a class diagram step by step using an example. So in today's class, we try to learn about aggregation, relationship, composition, and please do not forget the homework that I have given to you. Try to find out the difference between the composition relationship and inheritance relationship, and why one is favored over the other. The second homework is try to read about how to implement the composition and aggregation relationships in code, because then you can identify that why I'm saying that aggregate means a class is a part of another class, whereas composition means that a class is literally composed of another class. So when you see actually this happening in in your coding environment, then it is much easier to get the taste of the relationship between the two classes. So these are quite important concepts when it comes to designing, developing software. So you see, even when we design a particular class, and when it is composed of another classes or is an aggregate of another class, so you see there's a lot more thinking that is happening even beneath the class identifications, class definitions, and class relationships. So there is a reason behind everything and the way it is there. So try to understand these concepts, and I'm confident that when you try to see the implementation of composition and aggregation, the concept will become much clearer, and you will be able to appreciate the theory behind class diagram in a much more better way than otherwise you would have. So that is all for today's class. Tomorrow we will take a step-by-step approach on how to create a class diagram using an example, and that approach will also help you analogously to create the class diagrams for your specific projects. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please write to me if you have any other doubts. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.